Home Alone girl hears sinister knocks at midnight, then a terrifying revelation is exposed. Chloe hunched over the couch, fingers curling tightly around her popcorn bowl as the clock struck midnight. The comforting flicker of the television cast eerie shadows around the room, the perfect backdrop for her horror show binge. But in Maplewood, where laughter spilled from friendly neighbors' homes, even the brightest of lights seemed to fade into an all-consuming darkness. Just as the show hit its climax, a series of sharp, unnatural knocks shattered the peace. They echoed down the silent street like an ominous drumroll, and every knock felt like a warning. Her heart raced, and the flickering images on the screen couldn't distract her. Who could be knocking at this hour? At first, she brushed it off as paranoia tapping into her imagination, a byproduct of the movie's chilling plot. But as the pounding continued, a shiver crawled up her spine, bringing with it a chilling whispering that clawed at her senses. Was she truly alone? Chloe crept to the peephole, her breath hitching in her throat. Peering through the tiny lens, she found the world outside bathed in shadows. No one was there. Just emptiness. Her anxiety flared like a fire reaching for oxygen, stoking fears she thought she managed. Fragments of family photographs flashed in her mind, smiling faces frozen in time, their eyes glistening with warmth. But glimpses of her neighbors flickered unsettlingly, their smiles stretching too wide, their glances too lingering when they passed her on the street. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Then the power flickered, died, the world outside collapsing into darkness, with only the moon as her reluctant companion. Chloe dashed to her phone, dread pooling in her stomach like lead. Dead. Panic flooded her as she desperately tried the back door, locked. Trapped, alone, the relentless knocks echoed like a sinister drum in her ears, promising the arrival of a malevolent presence. Trembling, she stumbled across the cluttered living room, every corner morphing into shadows lurking just beyond reach. In her frantic search for safety, she found herself drawn to the attic. Dust motes danced in the thin beam of moonlight slicing through the window as she opened the creaking door and unearthed an old box, buried beneath clutter and the remnants of family history. What lay inside? Newspaper clippings, yellowed with age, screamed stories of disappearances linked to the very streets she roamed, a web of haunting connections binding her to Maplewood's sinister heart. Her pulse thundered brick by brick, the truth was revealing itself. As eerie photographs glared from the pages, she felt the weight of her neighbors' smiles turn suffocating. Just then, a furious knock rattled the door, jangling her nerves. This was no occasion for manners, it was a warning, a beckoning to some horrifying truth lying just beyond her threshold. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Chloe's breath quickened as the whispering crescendoed into an unholy choir of unintelligible voices. Each knock grew louder, harmonizing with the thunderous cadence of her heart pounding against her chest. They were all intertwined, drawing closer, gnawing at her sanity. It was then, in that fraught stillness, the horror dawned on her. These knocks weren't a welcome, they were a summons, a warning. A chilling darkness stirred within her home, an unmistakable tie to the facade of safety her neighbors had woven. They were anything but harmless, and as the night deepened, Chloe found herself paralyzed, torn between fear and a hope that light was somewhere beyond her reach. Outside, a shadow moved along the windowpane, and in her gut, she understood nothing would ever be the same again. The next knock came crashing in further, demanding her to unravel the terrible truth. Chloe barely breathed, the pounding in her chest drowning out the noise. Each knock felt like an intrusion, an invitation to a horrifying reality she wasn't ready to face. But she couldn't stay hidden in the attic, trapped under the weight of fear. The shadows seemed alive, beckoning her to uncover deeper mysteries. With a stealing breath, she grabbed the box of clippings, her only tether to understanding this madness. As she crept back down the rickety staircase, the whispers had morphed into separate voices, each one more persistent than the last, wrapping around her like a fog. It was as if the house itself spoke, warning her to turn back. Chloe, a raspy voice echoed from the darkness below, twisting her name like a knife. Squeezing her eyes shut, Chloe counted to 3, then yanked the attic door wide open. The moonlight flooded the room, yet shadows danced ominously, morphing with each flicker. She summoned the courage that had abandoned her, wandering toward the living room, clutching the box tightly. She had to know. The knocking continued, a relentless tempo that reverberated through the walls. "Open up," the voice called, the timbre low and dangerously calm. "You know what we want." Behind the darkened glass of the front door, a shifting figure blurred into view. The silhouette seemed to pulse, swelling with darkness, yet wrapped in a familiar shape. A neighbor? Someone she knew? Anxiety gripped her, realizing not all the faces she recognized were friendly. "Show yourself!" She screamed, but her voice trembled, barely escaping her throat. Silence followed, steeped in tension. Planting her feet firmly, she edged closer to the door, daring to peek through the peephole, her heart thundering with each cautious breath. What she saw made her choke. The figure had twisted, elongated features, shadows crawling across its skin like insects. It wasn't a friend. It was a wretched parody of a human, eyes sunken and glistening with an unspeakable hunger. Chloe stumbled back, skin crawling, breath shallow as panic flooded back. "Chloe," it whispered, the familiar tone sending shivers through her marrow. "You've seen us before." Without thinking, she darted to the nearest window, peering outside into the night. The street seemed alive with shadows, her neighbors, standing in stillness, eyes fixed on her, mouths slightly moving as if chanting. Their smiles now contorted into grimaces tinged with glee or despair, a macabre theater unfolding in the glow of moonlight. She turned away, closing her eyes for a moment, willing this nightmare to fade. But when she opened them, they were closer. The figures drifted to the porch, merging into one mass of ominous intent. They didn't knock anymore, they were simply there, silently demanding entry, a collective breathing as ominous as the wind. Chloe's mind raced. Could she escape? The back door? The side window? But what if they were waiting for her, anticipating each move? What if she was never meant to leave? With her heart racing against her ribs, she searched for anything, a weapon, a distraction, something to give her a fighting chance. And then her eyes caught a glint from the old attic box. The clipping stories of the disappeared. What had happened to them? She turned and grabbed the pages, flipping in desperation. What if uncovering the truth was the key to her freedom? The next knock sounded more frantic, as if the figures couldn't contain their hunger any longer. Had they heard her? Were they being summoned by her growing desperation? She had to act. Digging deeper into the box, Chloe found something, a letter, tucked away, the ink faded yet still legible. It spoke of a connection between the neighbors, a curse that haunted Maplewood, one born from buried sins and dark rituals. Chloe's fate hinged on the revelation. The next knock echoed, and with it, the enigmatic prophecy began to thread its way through her mind. "Chloe," they intoned, the choir swelling. Join us. What lay in store for her if she did? Before she could decide, the door shattered, flinging splinters across the room. The figures surged forward, their mouths widening, revealing teeth glistening with menace. "Time's up," the voice growled, urgency thrumming in the air. What did they want? And would she uncover the truth of Maplewood or become just another whispered name lost in the darkness? The door flew open like a puppet on frayed strings, crashing against the wall with a deafening thud. Chloe barely managed to register what she saw. The figures poured in, their forms twisting and reforming in a sickening ballet of shadows. The room was suddenly crowded, their cold breath washing over her, each exhale heavy with an unbearable dread. "Join us," they chorused again, a haunting melody that sliced through the air. Their hollow eyes bore into her, inviting her into their abyss. Chloe's mind raced. She fought the instinct to flee. She had to uncover the truth. Clutching one of the clippings, she shouted, "What do you want from me?" Silence enveloped the room. They stopped moving, their chant subsiding into a deathly stillness. The air thickened, charged with anticipation. Chloe's heart pounded louder than before. The moment felt suspended, a feeble breath held before a plunge into darkness. One figure stepped forward, details sharpening in the moonlight. It was the woman from across the street, Miss Abernathy, her face more grotesque than Chloe remembered. "You seek knowledge, don't you?" she hissed, lips pulling back to reveal discolored teeth. "You think you can save them?" "Who?" Chloe's voice quavered, panic seeping through each syllable. The lost Miss Abernathy tilted her head, a mocking grin spreading further across her face. "Those you've seen vanish. The silence? It's their echoes, trapped here, yearning for release." Chloe staggered back. The story she read echoed in her mind, names crossed out, faces that once belonged to friends or neighbors. Gripped in a haze of horror, she understood. The clippings weren't just stories, they were warnings. The figures shifted, advancing closer, their disturbing presence stifling. Chloe's instincts screamed at her to run, but she remained rooted in place, gripped by the realization. "You're all part of this," she yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. "You're cursed." The laughter that followed chilled her bones. "Cursed, yes," Miss Abernathy confirmed, stepping into the light. "We made a deal long ago. A pact for eternity. We can't leave this town, can't leave them." "Then why me?" Chloe was breathless, the terror spilling over as she clutched the box like a lifeline. "Innocence is a powerful thing," Miss Abernathy crooned, stepping closer still. "The pure can see what others cannot. You can free them. Set them free by joining our ranks." Chloe's chest tightened as realization dawned on her. It wasn't just knowledge she had unearthed, it was a fate they wanted her to share. The stories weren't merely a history, they were a prelude to her own doom. "Join us," echoed the chorus again, now an electric hum, throbbing in her veins. "No!" Chloe screamed, desperation igniting fire in her blood. She turned, eyes darting for an escape. The back door? The kitchen? A moment's respite from their insatiable needs? She couldn't be their puppet. But the walls seemed to close in, shadows flickering like hungry beasts. They moved swiftly, a tide of darkness, and she stumbled back, her foot catching on the box. Papers scattered at her feet, whispering forgotten names, tales of vanished souls. One name jumped out at her, emblazoned on an aged piece of paper, Emily Carter. Chloe's pulse quickened. She remembered Emily, a friend who had gone missing last summer. Was she another victim, trapped in this nightmare? "Save her," Chloe gasped, feeling the weight of the past crashing into the immediacy of the threat surrounding her. The musty smell of decay mixed with her rising fear. "I can save her." The horde paused, uncertainty flickering across their twisted faces. "You would risk it all?" Ms. Abernathy's voice twisted with intrigue. "Let me go." Chloe felt desperation surge, pulsing with the energy of rebellion. "I'll help you, I'll find a way to set her free." But deep inside, Chloe felt the gnawing dread that perhaps the very attempt to save Emily could seal her fate. And as the figures hesitated, a sly grin spreading across the woman's face, the hairs on her neck stood on edge. "Very well," Ms. Abernathy replied, the sinister cadence returning. "But know this, there's a price to pay, a choice you must face." Chloe felt time freeze in that moment, the reality of what was at stake crashing down on her. The glimmer of hope was drowning in an ocean of shadows. Would she sacrifice everything to save the innocent, or would she become yet another story whispered in the dark? With malicious amusement thrumming in the air, the waiting figures edged closer, and Chloe's heart raced. A decision loomed, one that would change everything. What lay ahead? Would the dawn bring salvation or deeper terror? Chloe's breath caught in her throat as the figures closed in, their grotesque forms blocking every avenue of escape. The walls felt like they were closing in, the air swirling with a mix of fear and despair. Ms. Abernathy's smile widened, revealing teeth that glinted like shards of glass in the dim light. Now, she crooned, her voice dripping with malicious delight. A chance to save a soul. How noble. Chloe fought against the panic rising within her. What's the price? She whispered, the words scraping painfully out of her throat. The room felt alive, shadows pulsing with anticipation, waiting for her answer. Ms. Abernathy tilted her head, her eyes glinting like dark stars. Innocence doesn't come free, dear. You will have to exchange a piece of yourself for hers. What does that mean? Chloe's voice trembled. Images of Emily flashed in her mind, their late-night talks, their laughter echoing through summer nights. She couldn't lose that, couldn't lose anyone else. Families were real, friendships were gold. The figures swayed slowly, a synchronized movement that made her skin crawl. Join us, they whispered, their voices now a dissonant symphony. Encouragement mingled with dread. Something flickered in the depths of Chloe's mind. The stories, the names she had read, the faces of the lost. Were they like Emily, forever caught in a loop of despair? Would she too face eternal darkness if she rejected the offer? Stop. She commanded, her voice faltering though. I'll do it. I'll take your deal. Suddenly, silence fell again. The warmth of her acceptance skated across the skin of the figures, a wave of excitement. Chloe could feel their energy shifting, all hungry eyes turned to her. Very well, Ms. Abernathy began, and Chloe felt a cold dread creep into her spine. But the cost will be steep. You will lose a part of yourself, a memory, a piece of what makes you whole. Chloe gritted her teeth, fear coursing through her veins. I'll give you the memories of my childhood, she declared, the words spilling out like stones from a dam. Nothing of her early years was worth losing Emily's freedom. The laughter of the shadowed figures erupted, echoing off the walls. You do not understand, child. It is not that simple. It is far more profound. You will forget your love, your laughter. You will become a shell. I don't care. She shouted, anger mixing with desperation. The fear of losing Emily spun her resolve tighter. Just let me help her. Ms. Abernathy stepped closer, her face emerging fully from the gloom. Then it is done. An icy chill wrapped around Chloe's heart, squeezing tight. Emily. Chloe cried out, the name a lifeline in the chaos. The air shifted violently, and suddenly, a pulse of darkness surged through the room, knocking Chloe to her knees. Ghostly whispers swirled around her, shadows climbed her limbs like serpents, pulling her into their depths. She gasped, the pressure twisting at her mind. She felt memories strain, faces she had cherished fading like wisps of smoke, their laughter dissolving into the abyss. The pain of relinquishing pieces of herself was unbearable, each moment lost was a stab to the heart. Let me go. Let her go. She begged, raw emotion spilling from her lips. To be abandoned by herself felt like the ultimate betrayal. But it was too late. With a piercing scream, the room erupted in a blinding light, then darkness engulfed her completely. Chloe gripped the ground, fear settling like lead in her bones. Then, a vision broke through the chaos, a fleeting image, a girl in a playground, laughter ringing out like an alarm in paradise. It was Emily, but as quickly as the memory sparked, it flickered and faded, blurring into shadows of doubt. Remember. A voice commanded, sharp against the silence. But the entities only echoed with mirth, their shadows merging into a monstrous silhouette. Where was Emily? Where was the hope she had harbored? And as Chloe's heart sank deeper into despair, she felt the fabric of her being unravel completely, a blank slate in the void, where stories were meant to be written. Would she ever find Emily? Or was she already lost to the wretched whispers of the cursed? As the figures began their chant once more, a single thought thrummed in the dark: what if saving Emily cost her everything, including the person she once was? The answer loomed heavy, yet untouched in the shadows of her mind, waiting for her to confront it. Would her past haunt her forever, or was there a chance to reclaim what had been lost? The dawn was far off, and darkness still lingered, threatening to swallow her whole. Chloe felt herself falling, spiraling into an abyss that seemed endless. The darkness pressed against her, as if it wanted to swallow her whole. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, a reminder of the life she might soon forget. Faces blurred behind her eyes: her parents, her friends, the sun-drenched days of her youth. They were slipping, dissolving into nothing but shadows. "Stay with me," she gasped, fighting against the vast emptiness. But the shadows danced around her, mocking her desperation. They whispered her name, sweet yet tainted, drawing her deeper into their clutches. "You wanted to save her," they hissed, their voices like a chilling wind. "But what are you willing to become?" As she struggled against the dark, a flicker of hope ignited within her. The soft sound of laughter echoed, faint but clear. Emily. It was her, laughing like they were sharing a secret only the two of them knew. Chloe clung tightly to that thread, willing the memory to push back against the madness closing in. "No. I won't let her go," Chloe shouted into the void. The shadows laughed again, a horrific, disembodied sound that rattled her bones. "But you already have, dear. You are but a pale reflection of who you once were." The laughter shifted into a cacophony of cries, the pain of lost innocence manifesting all around her. It clawed at her mind, each voice a reminder of what she sacrificed for Emily's freedom. The relentless whispers grew louder, overwhelming her senses, wrapping around her psyche like a suffocating shroud. Then, through the chaos, something shifted. Images began to morph. No longer just Emily's laughter, but shadows intertwining with her childhood memories. She saw her friends smiling, her family gathered around the dinner table, warmth radiating like summer sun. But suddenly, each face turned dark, mouths twisting in a silent scream. "Not all happiness is true," they warned, their eyes hollow. Panic surged inside Chloe. She was losing the last ties to herself, her heart pounding out a frantic rhythm that spoke of dread. "I won't let this happen." A sudden burst of light illuminated the space, momentarily blinding her. Figures stood rigid, their monstrous forms only highlighted for a fraction of a moment. She could see twisted shapes coiling around them, wretched tendrils feeding off despair. "You think you can escape?" Ms. Abernathy's voice slithered through the chaos, smooth yet drenched in malice. "You are now part of our story." With the dazzling light, Chloe grasped for a memory, any memory that could anchor her to reality. The image of Emily surged back, clearer now, and with it came the realization: Emily needed her to remember, needed her to fight. "Emily!" she cried, her voice breaking through the darkness. "You're my reason." Her hands clenched tight, and she forced herself to reach out, hoping against hope that her love for Emily could shift the course of this nightmare. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, silence swallowing the cacophony, as though her proclamation had disrupted their grip. Ms. Abernathy's face twisted into a snarl, fury flashing in her dark eyes. "No! You don't understand what you're inviting." But as Ms. Abernathy shouted, Chloe's heart surged with determination, ready to pull herself out of this abyss. She felt something within her respond, a fragment of her own soul refusing to vanish without a fight. All at once, Chloe felt a rush, a blinding surge of warmth coursed through her veins, illuminating her thoughts like a bonfire in the dark. "I will remember," she roared, defiance raging against the horror. The shadows convulsed, reeling from her declaration. But even in her newfound resolve, a chilling thought crept in. Would remembering truly save Emily, or would it summon darker forces yet to reveal themselves? As the warmth enveloped her, Chloe wondered, was she ready to face the consequences? The remnant of doubt loomed, ready to settle in the corners of her mind. And at that moment, the chaos faded to a whisper, a single question echoing, what if the memory she had fought so hard to keep was the very thing that had trapped them both in this nightmare? The ground beneath her trembled, reality shifting as a door opened in the darkness, and with it came the sound of soft knocking. Someone or something was waiting for her on the other side. Did she dare to answer? Chloe barely had time to take a breath before the knocking echoed again, louder this time. Each rap sent chills racing down her spine, though she couldn't tell if it stemmed from fear or anticipation. Did she dare to open that door? Whispers swirled violently around her, morphing into distorted shapes that crashed against her resolve. What awaits you? They taunted, 1,000 voices intermingling. What if you find only darkness? Heart pounding, she stepped forward, her hand hovering over the door. It felt cold, freezing as if it had been untouched by warmth. The knocking continued, insistent and relentless. It seemed to demand her attention, to call her closer. Emily, she whispered, the name a prayer, the reminder that flickered like a weak flame against the overwhelming shadow. With a deep breath, she pushed down the handle. The door creaked open, the air thick with an oppressive weight. Beyond lay a void, deeper than the darkness she desperately fought to escape. It was a corridor, stretching infinitely into nothingness. Flickering lights overhead cast ominous shadows that danced along the walls. Shapes lingered just beyond her vision, watching, waiting. Suddenly, the knocking turned frantic, pounding like a drumbeat. Panic surged through her. What are you? She gasped, stepping hesitantly into the corridor. The walls felt alive, pulsing as if they could breathe. Remember, a voice, mocking yet sorrowful, snaked around her. You wanted to remember. So long as you live in the memory, it will never let you go. Chloe grit her teeth, determination overpowering the fear clawing at her insides. This is my choice, she shouted into the void. But a chill swept through her, causing her skin to prickle. The shadows began to twist, darting toward her like a swarm of angered bees, eager to consume her. I want to be afraid, I want to. She cried out, but the words felt hollow, drowned beneath the cacophony of despair that rose around her, threatening to push her back. Then, a familiar giggle floated in the air. It wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Emily's laughter. Chloe. Help me. The sound echoed, illuminating the darkness momentarily. It filled her with a sense of urgency. In that instant, she realized, Emily was close. But the path ahead was shrouded in twisted memories and dark puppeteers. Emily. She lunged forward, fear now fueled by a fierce love. Each step brought the echo of laughter louder, clearer, until it felt like Emily was standing beside her, holding her hand. We'll find each other. But the moment of hope shattered as a limb of shadowed smoke lashed out, wrapping around her ankle. You think you can save her? It hissed. You'll suffer worse than you know. Chloe tried to shake it off, but the grip tightened, pulling her backward. Heart racing, she fought against it, adrenaline surging through her veins as she screamed, No. I refuse to let you take me. The corridor walls shifted, closing in as if the very space was alive with anger. Every whisper grew more urgent, becoming a terrifying symphony of lost souls. She felt the weight of the shadows pressing against her, threatening to crush the last fires of hope within her. Chloe, remember me. The voice was clear now, a stark reminder of what was at stake. Emily's face materialized in the swirling chaos, eyes wide with fear. I will find you. Chloe roared, breaking free from the grip just enough to stumble forward. But as she ran, the ground beneath her feet turned soft and pliable, giving way like quicksand. Panic gripped her again. Would she sink into the abyss, trapped between the memories she fought so hard to protect and the darkness clawing at her? Just as she felt herself slipping, a glimmer of light broke through, a path leading upward. It beckoned her to grasp it. Would she dare to follow it, knowing it might lead to salvation, or utter doom? In that moment, with shadows circling closer, Chloe made her choice. She reached for the light, hoping it would lead her to Emily, but fearing it could lead her to an even deeper nightmare. What waits for you on the other side? The voices whispered ominously as light consumed her. The light enveloped Chloe, warm yet blinding, a stark contrast to the shadows clawing at her heels. It surged through her like electricity, filling every crevice of despair with a fierce glow. For a split moment, she felt weightless, as if she was unshackled from her fears. But that moment was deceptive, flitting away before real comprehension struck. When the radiance faded, she found herself standing in a sterile room, walls painted a clinical white. Only one flickering bulb illuminated the space, hanging from the ceiling like an unheeded warning. Chloe blinked rapidly, trying to piece together the disorienting leap she had taken. The air was thick with silence, save for the occasional crackle from the flickering light. "Emily?" Her voice echoed in the emptiness, sending a ripple of unease through her. The room was bare, devoid of any signs of life, yet she felt eyes on her watching, waiting. A sudden thump echoed from the far side of the room, jolting her heart back into a panicked rhythm. She spun around, scanning for the source, searching for a glimpse of Emily. With every fiber of her being, she prayed that the familiar giggle would return. But only silence answered her desperate call. Suddenly, her foot grazed something cold on the floor. Looking down, she saw a shattered mirror, its jagged edges protruding like teeth poised to bite. Reflection after reflection reflected her fear and confusion, multiplied infinitely. "What is this place?" she murmured, fear clawing at her throat again, making it hard to swallow. "Your choice brought you here," a voice purred, serpentine and chilling. It echoed from all corners, curling around her like smoke. Chloe spun back to face the wall toward the noise, dread flooding her as something flickered just beyond the boundaries of the faint light. The shadows coiled closer, merging into a shape that twisted and writhed until it formed a figure. It was human yet grotesque, a mockery of life. It stepped into the light. The shadows could not claim this area, and the menacing grin carved across its face twisted her stomach into knots. "Why do you seek the girl?" it hissed, its breath a rancid, chilling rush against her skin. "Let her go. I'm not afraid of you," Chloe shouted, voice rising in defiance, but it rang hollow in the cavernous room. "Oh, but you should be." The creature's eyes pierced through her, glowing faintly, revealing the emptiness within. "You have already succumbed to despair. You just don't know it yet." Chloe shook her head, refusing to accept its cruel words. "I came to find her. I want to leave without Emily." A low cackle erupted from the creature, echoing grotesquely. "You can't rescue anyone if you cannot even save yourself." Its words struck deep, and a wave of despair washed over her, leaving her breathless. Images flashed in her mind: Emily, laughing, dancing in sunlight. Then there were shadows creeping in, dark figures wrapping around her friend, dragging her down into the depths of nothingness. "No!" Chloe cried, clutching her head. She could feel the floor shifting beneath her feet, breaking apart like glass. "Stop!" A disorienting rush of energy surged through her again as the ground rumbled violently. The walls became fluid, colors blurred. Was this another trick? When the chaos settled, Chloe found herself standing at a crossroads. The corridor stretched infinitely ahead, flanked by darkened doors. Each one held secrets. The whispers began anew, chaotic and urgent. Memories pulled her, urging her toward the path of despair, while another beckoned with clarity. She hesitated, torn between the darkness and the light. The voice of Emily flickered in her mind, desperate, calling for her as fragile as spider silk. "Trust in love, Chloe. I'm still here." But which door would lead her there? The whispers tightened around her, growing louder and more sinister, drowning out her resolve. Chloe inhaled sharply, heart racing. One path promised salvation, the other, untold horrors. Which would she choose? As a shadow slithered along the floor toward her, she knew that time was slipping away. Each heartbeat echoed ominously in the silence, pushing her toward a decision that could haunt her forever. Would she dare to step forward into one of those doors, uncertain of what lay ahead? Or would the darkness consume her before she could act? What if you chose wrong? The creature whispered, grinning wider as it coiled closer, ready to plunge her into the depths of despair. Chloe breathed in sharply. The air felt stifling, heavy, as if the unnerving shadows themselves were squashing her resolve. She could almost sense their hungry smiles, eager for her to falter. The moment stretched painfully, silence humming like a taut wire ready to snap. The flickering bulb above sputtered and dimmed further, shadows lurching eagerly at the edges of the corridor. Each door loomed larger, as if alive. She couldn't help but feel that each one held a secret, a truth she wasn't ready to confront. But Emily was out there, lost in the dark, and panic clawed at her. Trust and love, the whisper spun through her mind again, the ghostly echo of Emily's voice weaving through the tension. Chloe clenched her fists, steadying herself. "I'm coming," she yelled into the void, a surge of determination pushing her forward. With a last shuddering breath, she stepped toward the door on her left, the wood weathered but promising. A chilling rush surged through her as she reached for the doorknob, cold as ice. The moment she turned it, a desperate wail erupted from within, piercing the silence. "Emily! Chloe! Help me!" Her friend's voice echoed, trapped beyond the door, filled with terror. Chloe's heart splintered. "I'm here. Hold on." She flung the door open, but instead of the room she expected, it revealed a swirling dark void. The air was thick, a suffocating layer wrapping around her throat. Shadows danced at the edges, whispering cruelly, taunting her courage. "Don't listen," the cruel voice hissed, slithering closer again, almost feeling warm against her skin. "She's already lost, just like you." "No!" Chloe screamed, her words rebounding off the darkness. She stepped into the void, determined to break the spell. The darkness responded, wrapping around her like a python, squeezing tightly, and grounding her feet in a place of unyielding despair. "Your love cannot save her." The creature laughed, the sound like nails scraping down a chalkboard. Her resolve began to waver, doubt creeping in. What if it was right? What if she was too late? Suddenly, warmth radiated through her core, igniting against the chill. She thought of Emily's laughter, her joy, moments that felt stolen now. "I will not let you take her," Chloe shouted, attacking the essence of despair weighing her down. The air crackled with energy, and she found herself fighting back. From behind, the shadows convulsed angrily, screeching as they struggled against her will. "You think you can escape your fate?" it hissed. But Chloe pushed forward, shoving her arms through the temperatures of fear. Light erupted from her as she called Emily's name again. "I believe." Flash. Another blinding illumination wrapped around her. This time it didn't fade. It burned with a purity she hadn't felt before, illuminating every corner of the suffocating shadows. The darkness shrieked and recoiled, the chilling figure contorting in rage. The echoes of Emily's cries intermingled with the creature's shrill pleas, both desperate yet rooted in love. As Chloe emerged from the fading shadows, she glimpsed another door within the light. It wasn't black, it radiated warmth, familiarity. She approached it, hope swelling inside her, wondering if could this be the door that led her to Emily? With renewed purpose, she took a step, heart racing. "Stop!" The creature's voice snarled, now a mere whisper against her desperate resolve. "You cannot run from what you are." But Chloe was blind to its taunts. Her hand gripped the handle. She twisted it open, heart pounding violently like a drum. What lay beyond would determine it all. Would love guide her to her friend, or was it another facade laced with shadows? The door creaked open and behind it, eyes glaring back at her, were they soulless, or was this the salvation she longed for? Chloe blinked, momentarily blinded by the light spilling from the door. The eyes staring back at her were not empty but full of shimmering desperation. Emily! Relief surged, igniting an exhilaration that pushed back the shadows clinging to her soul. Chloe! Emily's voice broke through the haze, and in that moment, hope felt real, a flickering candle against the encroaching darkness. Before she could step further, a cold gust swept through the doorway, swirling the light into chaotic shapes. The warm brightness flickered, struggling against the oppressive gloom, but Chloe's heart hammered on, relentless in its desire for what lay beyond. Yet, as she stepped further inside, the air grew heavier. Chloe, don't. Emily's voice sounded strained, sharp with fear. It's a trap. Emily! Chloe cried out, frozen in that space between love and terror. What do you mean? Suddenly, the warmth shattered like glass, plunging her back into the icy void that had consumed her moments ago. Where there had been light, now twisted shadows writhed with a life of their own. The whispers surged again, slithering through her mind. You think it's her? The creature's voice, once distant, now thundered around her, swirling with malevolence. You're so easily fooled. Chloe staggered, clenching her fists as she fought against the wave of despair crashing over her. Emily! She shouted, desperation lacing her voice. You have to fight. We can find our way out together. No. The voice faltered, then transformed, twisting into something dark and guttural. You can't save her, Chloe. She belongs to me now. Chloe's heart splintered. How could she combat such utter malevolence? Each breath felt like a battle, and memories of Emily's laughter faded as the dark shadow tightened its grasp around her mind. Listen closely, my dear, the thing taunted. Every secret held their value, especially hope. I can give you what you truly desire. Visions flooded her consciousness, Emily, trapped, smothered in darkness, eyes wide with terror. But other images flitted through, Emily laughing under the sun, carefree and whole. Chloe clung to those memories, shielding herself against the onslaught. No. I will not lose you. In sheer defiance, she fought against the oppressive weight pulling her deeper into the void. The walls of despair pressed closer, but she pushed her will against it, focusing entirely on Emily's face. Come back to me. With each whisper of defiance, tendrils of light flickered from her heart. A warmth ignited in her core, pooling strength like molten gold. The shadows scratched and clawed at her, desperately trying to stamp out the glow. Then suddenly a figure appeared, shrouded in flickering light. It wasn't Emily, but a silhouette standing between them, etched with stark familiarity. The creature laughed, unsettling and distorted. Look who's joined the fun. Oh, how bad it must feel to watch someone so close slip away. Chloe's breath caught. Mom? She couldn't recognize the face fully, but in her heart, she felt a connection. Yet something felt too wrong, something unearthly edged its way into the familiar contours. It's time to make a choice, Chloe. Why struggle when you can reunite, free from all your burdens? Her mother's voice weaved in, but lacked its tenderness, sharp, playful like a blade poised to strike. Chloe's chest tightened. She took a reluctant step back, heart racing. No. Stay back. Don't you want to see her smile again? Shadows roared, drawing closer as they began to envelop her mother's apparition. The air crackled, suffocated with tension. Chloe felt the shadows reaching out for her once more, but she had a choice to make. The warmth inside her flickered, but could it withstand this trickery? Don't let them take you, Chloe. Emily's voice rang out, trembling but fierce. Fight. The familiar face wavered, replaced abruptly by Emily's frantic gaze, pleading for her to wake up. The room began to spin. Chloe felt herself slipping, pulled in two directions. Was this the moment she was meant to embrace? Choose. The entity roared, the world around her warping in a dance of shadows and light. Time froze as Chloe's heart hammered. Would she succumb to the dark drives of despair or cling to the thread of hope that interwove with love? And as the decision loomed before her, the ground beneath her feet quaked. A new reality began to take shape. Would she step toward the light or slide deeper into the shadows? The walls creaked, whispering as the void surged dangerously close. Chloe felt the world quaking beneath her feet as the shadows surged forward, reaching toward her with icy fingers. Fear clawed at her throat, but Emily's determined face, trapped within that swirling darkness, anchored her. "Fight!" she screamed again, voice echoing against the madness. With every ounce of strength, Chloe clenched her fists and steadied her resolve. She had battled too long to let despair claim her now. "I choose love," she shouted, her voice breaking through the oppressive silence that had engulfed her. In that instant, a surge of warmth blossomed within her, illuminating the dimness around her like a supernova. The shadows recoiled as though stung, their whispers morphing into frantic whispers of panic. Chloe pushed forward, summoning memories of laughter, sunlight, and friendship, wrapping herself in that warmth. Images of her childhood flooded back, riding bikes on sunlit summer days, the sweet taste of cotton candy at the fair, the warmth of her family around her. The twisted faces began to waver, losing their grip on reality. "You'll regret this." The creature roared, its voice a cacophony of howls and cries as the shimmering light pushed back the darkness. But Chloe pressed on, determined to break the cycle of pain. "You don't own me," she screamed, marching toward the spectral figure that called itself her mother. "You're not her." The light intensified, a brilliant flare of defiance that blasted through the void. Shadows writhed and contorted, struggling against the power of her love. "Mom!" she called, her heart racing. "If you're truly here, help me save Emily." Incredibly, the essence that looked like her mother paused. The shadows thinned around it, the voice that emanated from the figure tinged with uncertainty. "Chloe, dear, I can't." But Chloe knew. "You are not trapped. You have the power to come back." The warmth in her heart surged, and for a fleeting moment, the apparition flickered, revealing her mother's true face before becoming engulfed in grotesque overtones once again. "No!" the creature shrieked, fury rippling through the shadows. "You will pay." "Not if I can help it," Chloe countered, and with that, she pushed through the remnants of despair, sprinting toward Emily's voice. With every step, she felt the connection intensifying. "Emily! I'm with you." The room trembled violently, she could feel the shadows threatening to swallow her whole. Then, as if the universe shifted, a portal of blinding light split open before her. It was bright, radiant, and beckoning without hesitation. Within that brilliance, she glimpsed Emily, the girl's bright smile beaming against the darkness, arms outstretched in a plea for her to leap. "Chloe!" Emily cried, her voice breaking the chains of despair. "Come to me." Chloe didn't hesitate. Fueled by love, she leapt forward, flying toward the light. The shadows screamed in rage, losing their hold as they writhed in agony. As she stepped through the doorway, the warmth wrapped around her, it enveloped her like a protective cloak, shielding her against the darkness. The shadows fell back, dissipating like smoke in the wind, their malevolence crumbling into the void. Chloe blinked and found herself standing in a sunlit field, flowers blooming vibrantly around her. The air smelled sweet, alive with the essence of new beginnings. And there, just a few steps away, stood Emily, radiating joy and light. "Chloe!" Emily rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her friend. The warmth enveloped them both, it was a hug that reaffirmed their bond, sealing all they fought for. "You're okay," Chloe breathed, relieved, tears stinging her eyes. We did it. But as the two girls embraced, Chloe felt a twinge of sadness. She could sense the remnants of what she had sacrificed. Pieces of memories lost to her forever. Yet, the warmth between them ignited a flicker of hope. You freed me, Emily whispered, pulling back to gaze into Chloe's eyes. No matter what you lost, our friendship is unbreakable. You will always remember me. Chloe nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and love. You're right. I will carry you in every breath, every heartbeat. Around them, the sunlight shimmered brighter, casting away lingering shadows of doubt. Time wasn't lost, it transformed into a new beginning. And as they walked forward, hand in hand, they ventured into a world painted with promise, filled with laughter, memories to create anew, and an understanding that no darkness could ever extinguish the light of friendship. The journey was not the end, but a beautiful loop reflecting the endless bond between them, resilient against all that may come. Now, if you felt that surge of emotion with Chloe's journey, then you need to subscribe right now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Make a difference with every click. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending, because I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world, and together we can keep spreading stories like this. Let's make waves.